magical, mystical world of magical mysticalness. Hey, I think we're live. G'day, welcome to the Art of Rock. First and foremost, I'd like to acknowledge the Tongva people as being the traditional landowners of Hollywood, California, and Los Angeles, California. In the Art of Rock, we're going to talk about how you can create your art, and we're going to get over writer's block and all of that stuff. It's about sometimes making music is really difficult, and that's what we're going to talk about. Adam, welcome. Always good to see your face. This is made possible with Angelspit's Patreon. You can support that for $3 a month, or you can jump on that for free. On other news, Ice Planet 9000's new album is kickstarting now, D. Good to see your face. There's the Kickstarter. If you're a Patreon member, you're going to get a free digital copy. Paid Patreon member, you're going to get a free digital copy because I've been sending you the songs in the demo phase, so fucking have the album. New Angelspit is happening, by the way. I fucking swear it, man. And this shit is so angry. I'm so proud of this shit. But for now, I get some nice healing vibes. Wednesday night, everyone's over at Vulture Culture. And we're going to talk about synthesizers, and it's really inspiring. So please jump on over there. After we're done here, we're going to bang on over to MTV TV because it's just nonstop and it's inspiring and it's bloody awesome. If you're concerned about what the way the United States is headed, jump on indivisible.org. They will assist. All legal, all peaceful, all constitutional. Rezi, thank you for co-hosting.
That's usually where I say something like "you're welcome" or "thank you," but then I had to find the button. Having computer problems today. We'll talk about that later because you want to talk about it. Thanks.
It's all right. Computer issues, baby. They're bloody terrible. We're also going to be joined by these amazing humans, hopefully today. In playback, I've noticed that I burp and touch my face a lot. It's because I just had breakfast.
I heard you weren't supposed to do that on TV.
I know.
The thing that I heard.
Belching, yeah. I know. Don't belch.
touch your nose.
But I do that all the time. Have you noticed? I'm always touching. It's an autistic fidgeting thing. Plus, someone is shedding. I won't mention their name, so there's hair everywhere. Yes, I'm talking about you. He's coming over. Okay, let's get started. We didn't actually talk about what we were going to talk about first, but I'm going to throw an idea out there. So last night I was talking to a very good old friend. Oh, here he is. Hi, Frank. All right. And we were talking about, I tell you what, can we talk about video software actually first? Great. You guys were talking about video software as we closed the session afterwards last week. It's just that I've got somebody literally on my back and I have to deal with this now. Tell me about the video software Go.
Hey, I'll jump in just for a second. I think Brett was talking about something specific, and my thing that I chimed in with was like an analog emulated video effect generator, kind of a standalone thing that's very patchable and modular called Lumen. But I'm going to digress into things about how my computer is broken every time a new topic comes up, and that one's on the computer that is now being recovered. So I don't have access to it to show what it was or even look at it. But it is knobs and wires patching things at the megahertz frequency and LFOs and stuff, so you can get old CRT style NTSC glitches and effects, and you can put actual video sources into it and emulate the same. Interesting. If anybody's interested in doing that, then it's interesting to them.
That'd be interesting to me,
yeah,
for sure. So what we were talking about last week, a little bit, and I've only scratched the surface of it. I did buy it, but that is Imaginando's VS2. It's their visual synth 2. Like I said, I've only scratched the barest of surface on it at the moment. But everything I've been reading about it is you can trigger up to 4 oscillators in it with MIDI or audio, The audio, of course, is, well, not of course, but the audio is using peaks as one of the means to modulate the oscillators. You can add background images, other videos and such like that, have them pulse, have them dance, tons of shaders in it as well. And so it's one of those that I got to mess with it for about an hour inside the DAW. You know, basically it has a VST element to it. And I didn't find that to work as well as I would have liked. So the next experiment is going to be working with it outside of the DAW, literally pumping in audio and MIDI keyboards and whatnot to try to make it do cool things. And then, of course, it has a recording aspect. So my thought there is I can use this to create clips that I can string together and have it be something fun to go with some of the instrumentals and things that I've been working on. And well, when it comes down to actual lyrics, then, you know, of course, I'll try to show my face.
This is fascinating. Tell me my mic was bloody muted throughout all of that. I must apologize. Someone whose name I won't mention has demanded that he sits on my seat. So I had to move everything around. And I have two seats now. I have a crappy steel seat and my nice big comfy chair that I don't get to sit in my nice big comfy chair anymore because someone whose name I won't mention, but he is very cute, gets to sit in my chair. Back to the video stuff. That's really interesting. Yeah, it does sound very Mike Video Punk. I put a link there. Thank you for sharing this. This is so interesting because modular video software is really expensive. And it's also very interesting because this stuff is very crazy haphazard, like blobs of color smashing themselves against a wall. And it's really fascinating, really inspiring. I just find it really interesting. Bro, tell me your thoughts.
So one of the initial experiments that I did really reminded me of something we would have even talked about before in Art of Rock, where it was some band using oil and water and lights and colored lights and things like that. You were the one who mentioned it. And so I stumbled on a very hallucinogenic version of that within VS2. Now, mind you, at that point, I didn't get it to properly respond to the music. So it was like these cool washing backgrounds, but it very, very much reminded me of the oil and water. But then it was also doing like the filters. I forget what it's even called now, but where you do like the cycling the colors and whatnot, and it becomes all very trippy. But yeah, like color washes and such that would blend in with that oil pattern. It was actually really cool.
This is lovely. So so if we want to take some downtime now, and because this is doing it real time that you use as a plugin. Wow, that's fucking crazy. If anybody else wants or could be bothered, and they want to actually go and find visualizers where you can say, here's an audio track. I'm just going to stick the audio track into this thing and see what comes out. If we could share some of these now, that would be fascinating because, oh God, it's a rant. I think we're at this really interesting period at the moment where AI panic and everything else. And visuals that are becoming really, really, really perfect. Like on my feed right now, they're baby donkeys because I love baby donkeys. But most of them aren't real donkeys. I found out they're actually fucking AI donkeys.
Oh.
So I've been getting all cute over bloody machines. My point is that, you know, in this time when you can say to an AI, hey, make this look like spaceships and shit, it was going to give you something really perfect. And the whole idea of running away from perfection and running back into digital mash, or it looks like a colorizer from a visualizer from the 90s, could actually be a cool thing because it's making people go, like it's absolutely different to I just belched again. It's really interesting that, you know, maybe a part of the quest of art, the quest of finding something new and unique is going back to old crappy glitch. Thank you, D. So yeah, give me some. Oh, Brett, I see the game editor's visualizer. I'm gonna put this up here. So you
Yeah,
just
so
stick it in. Go ahead.
if you're an FL Studio user, Z Game Editor Visualizer is a plugin that's included with the DAW. I've played with it a good bit, and the only thing that really kind of tweaked me about it is, I put a ton of work into one of the videos, and then they had an update and it nuked my work. So that's why I was looking for something outside of the DAW. But between the two, what I really noticed, and you were kind of touching on that as well, with VS2, for example, I saw what looked like it was straight out of the 80s. Wireframe landscapes built on your music that you can put position around, weird dancing ovals and such like that, laser bursts, from different angles. And the nice thing about it was, and that was part of what convinced me to buy it, was you can chain each one of those elements to a specific sound or a specific MIDI or a specific, modulator. And like I said, I haven't produced something yet, but it's coming. I am sharpening my teeth on it, if you will. Yeah, it's cool.
That's really interesting. That's great. Hey, did anybody else want to jump in on this or add links or anything like that? Razi, blow me with your brain power.
Interestingly, the highest profile stuff that I've done in entertainment happens to be some video animated visualizers. They've been on stages and on network morning TV, more than certainly my music has for many reasons. But these are work for hire kinds of things. And there's two, I guess, opposing things about the way that I think about video art, and one is the client is correct in whatever they want. It's a paid gig. Who cares? It's not my art. And the other one is everything should be parametric. I don't want clips of anything. I don't want pre-rendered landscape wireframes with the sun rising in the background. I want it to be all tied to slices of the frequency spectrum of the music, or MIDI gestures that are going on in the performance, or positional, body control gestures like they do with Isadora. That's a bit of a purist, like pedantry, but there's something to picking. Let me say there's a reasonable middle ground between picking a few parameters that are responsive and pre-rendering it and letting that be your visuals, and having it actually exist in real time. But most of these things can do impressive cinema quality, broadcast quality, fully gorgeous stuff in real time, and you don't have to pre-render. So whether you're stressing about which parameters to hook up to which inputs to hook up to which parameters, or if it's going to cause lag, or what it does creatively, there's a lot you can do. And I guess to wrap it up, I'll just talk about the couple of things that I have used mostly as audio triggers to visual response, and that is slicing the audio input into frequency bands, real coarse. All the low end is below 70 hertz, and the mids are from like 1K, an octave around that. And maybe it's just those two bands. You don't need a lot. And so that the high end is triggering, let's say, one object's scale, just that. And the low end is triggering, let's say, one object's position. And that could be your simple beat matched generative art piece visualizer. And that's very satisfying and kind of cool to look at if you do it well. And there's so many ways of doing that, whether it's a VST plugin in your DAW or a standalone piece of software or a pre-rendered thing. The things that come with your computer are probably pretty capable of this, but once you get into something like After Effects or Apple Motion or Isadora or the VJ softwares that I'm forgetting the titles of because I didn't look it up first, there's a lot of creative ways of doing it that aren't the pre-rendered clips, even though they do come with a clip library, is what I guess I'm getting at.
That's great. Thank you. Ivan?
Yeah, if there's anything like specific questions about like things there, I do have some other ideas and maybe answers too. Like if you're looking, it's just hard to settle on one aspect of it and come up with a statement.
I'm going to circle back to that. Thank you. Ivan, hit me with your brain.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, I ran into a video as code tool that ran outside your DAW, but it was reactive. And right there on the screen, you could see the commands that were, stacking up to make the video what it was. And it could do crazy stuff like import external video, import images, and manipulate all of that like on the fly. And it was cool, cool as hell. And for the life of me, I can't seem to re-find that tool. But I gotta say, as soon as I do find it, I will share it because it was truly awesome. I mean, you have to on the fly remember all the like geometry math for making images on the screen, because you tell it, Dave, put a circle over here and blah's the diameter, blah blah blah. And it was really quite capable, and like I think you could get away with running it on a Raspberry Pi and then just having it listen to the air for doing its reactiveness, and that worked. I was pretty impressed with it back then, and I would like to think that if I can find it, I will be impressed with it again.
Love it. Yeah, I guess that because my question is, where do you get the software and where is there free software? Because if you're going to try muck around with the thing, you either want trials or free. So if that exists, please throw them in the Zoom links and I'll bust them
I
on
will
out to
say
everyone.
Sorry, go ahead,
VST2
Brett.
Yeah, I will say VST2 does come with a trial. So that's one way you can play with it. And of course, Z Game Video or Z Game Editor Visualizer is free within FL Studio.
Fascinating. Razi, please.
And Ivan, most definitely the thing that you're thinking of is PD. It's a visualizer language, coding environment, probably more for like artists. Like if you're doing an installation piece that's going to hang on a gallery wall, you might have done it in PD. I haven't worked in it, but it is well optimized and works directly with OpenGL like shaders and stuff, and happens to often look like vectors or pixels or clouds or things like that. So if that sounds like it's what we're talking about, a lot of people did a lot of stuff in it maybe 10 years ago, and I don't know what it is today, but it's a basis for code to visuals and code to audio and stuff. Pure data, PD.
A pure data. Thank you very much. Just reminder, this is an NAUP zone. So when I say PD, I go like doctor. But thank you. This is fascinating. Does anybody else want to jump in here? More software, more words, go. Okay, no more words, no more software. Did we want to change subjects?
I will just drop the link for puredata.info into the chat.
Thank you, chat.
Yes.
Is that going into the Zoom chat?
I will, yes. A moment.
You are the greatest human being in the history of humans. I mean that sincerely too. That Buddha guy, he's got nothing on you.
Wow.
Yeah, you're welcome. I don't see the link. I better see this link quick, or there's no more. Buddha, I take it back. Buddha would have given me the link like that. Link, bam, big. No, too late, dude. Too late. Yeah, too late. Too
I
late,
typoed
bud.
it.
No, too late.
The Buddha would
There's
have
the link.
typoed and let it go.
Yep, there's the
Buddha
link
would have
from.
established a new type of software at the typo address that he typed.
Does that actually work?
No,
Predate.info.
it's just pure data.info.
Puredata.info.
I'll make you do it.
Pure data. Okay.
Can you tell the difference between when I have a computer that's working and I'm not? Is there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You're doing great. I believe in you. Thank you, Brett. Brett, you are the greatest human ever. Sorry, I'm such a bastard.
Haha, Resi.
That's all it takes. Yeah, well, you win.
There
I'll
it
grant
is.
it.
Pure data. Dude, that is predate? I don't know what that even means. But that's fine. It's all right. Everything's fine. Hey, so I'd like to suggest another conversation. I'm such a bastard. Data scares me. Um, so is it all right if I go off on a rant? Great. So last night I was talking to an old friend, and we were talking about how he does work with a person who came back and said, I want to do something that's like of a certain period, like Black Sabbath / Led Zeppelin. And it's very interesting that and of course, okay, sure, riff rock. But is that actually what they meant? Because my first thing was that, okay, find out albums. Which albums are they talking about? And then my second thing was, while they're at it, could they suggest some horror movies? Like horror movies from that time, to try and start going into their head to find out what it is they want, what it is they like. And this conversation turned into a really interesting thing about, I don't know how the conversation we're about to have takes place, but really interesting conversation about how, look, a lot of that stuff from that period happened in a rehearsal room. And they wrote stuff in a rehearsal room. They were jamming. So it's not you and me. It's this magical sphere that's growing between us. And it's about the sphere. It's not about you. It's not about me. It's about this sphere. And we're both adding and feeding the sphere till the sphere becomes an idea, becomes a song, da da da. It's incredibly difficult to do that these days. And it's like, when was the last time you sat in a room with someone? And I mean, for me, 30 years. You sat in a room with someone to write a song, not looking at a screen. Because that's what these albums that this person was referencing was all about. Either a guitar into a practice amp or an acoustic guitar or something, and they're kicking around fundamental ideas. Whereas today, it's all about, you can today it's about, if you're going to do it, it's going to be over a Zoom, because who the fuck's in the same country anymore or state or whatever? Because for 99.999% of people, that's how it is. And it was a really interesting thought of, how do you get back to the mysterious celebration of mistakes and dropping the ball and picking the ball up once it smashes, then putting the ball back together into something completely different. And another thing that came out as well was, he worked with another artist who used drums, bass, guitar live, a la rock and roll, but plus samples. And the great thing about samples is that, so the samples are the sample, the loop, whatever it is too fast. So I have to drop it, and I'm going to drop it 3 2/3 tone, semitones. So now, not only is it not in tune, but the actual, because it had to be slower. You know what I mean? That's why we had to drop it. The actual intonation of the samples themselves, and this is in the 90s, where you go, oh fuck it, I'm not going to pitch correct because it sounds like crap. Or maybe it sounded great. Like, I don't fucking know. Point being is that there was an emotional response to everything that was going on. I really don't know where this is going anymore. Does anybody else want to jump in and try and save me here?
I don't know that I remember the last time I was in a room without screens to write a song, but I definitely have been in a room with musicians playing music in the past 2 years. But like I'm gonna admit sort of a polar thing that goes on with that. One, you get ideas. I mean, you get great ideas if you work with great people. That's like obvious math. There's nothing complicated about that. But you also get 6 hours of shit ideas that you're both generating because you smoked a blunt and got distracted and been playing the same key, tempo, and riff for the past 2 hours eating pretzel rods. That happens too. The benefit outweighs the time that you put in. Obviously, it's how you do it. It's how you collaborate. It's how you make a thing. It's how you surprise each other, and it's worthwhile when you find a person that you can do that with. But the thing that I wanted to also admit on the polarity is I get the hyper control sensation when I'm doing that. Like I was like, oh well, this is good, but the thing that I'm going to do with it or turn it into, or the things that I would do, like I don't feel the same sense of absolute jurisdiction over this session, and that's a real thing to contend with, and look deeply within oneself and try to either eliminate or understand or spend time feeling so that you're doing something different. But it makes it difficult to jump into that. And I suspect that truly improvisational forms like jazz or like jam hippie rock, where night after night you're expected to sort of surprise each other or do something innovative and respond to it, that becomes a practice in and of itself, and that collaborative unit becomes a little more inseparable or something like that. Like there's an attitude. But the point is, as a songwriter guy, studio rat, control freak, likes making the thing, the artifact, creating it, it's a very different space to be in. Even without the commitment, like we're just jamming here, who knows, whatever, like there's no mandatory outcome of this or requirements of it. You're just having the experience. But I still find myself with the second guessing feeling of like, well, what if I was just working on a me album or something? So it's an interesting vibe.
That's really interesting, because you just talked about, there's a lot you just talked about. And thank you very much. Brett, talk to me.
I'm going to resonate with a lot of what Rezi said there. This past week, my roommate and I were decided to hop in the studio. He had something rattling around in his head that he wanted to try to work out. That's always hugely helpful, especially, given that I'm 99% of the time, I'm the only one in here. If someone else wants to come jam, that's cool. But let's be real, it just like Art of Rock, it helps to have some ideas that you can bring to the table, do some things. So what I guess I found, maybe this is more of a rant than anything else, but it's a lot of fun to have musicians and whatnot and do jam sessions, and as long as everyone's kind of lighthearted about it and not really too into the we must write, record, all that kind of stuff, be so disciplined about it, then I find it's a very creative thing. There is a switch that flips though when it starts to become, okay, now we're writing. And when I was working with my roommate, we went straight into that mode. So he was like, hey, look, I've got this bass in my head. It sounds like this. And he hummed it. And he's like, but I don't know what noise that is. And so I fired up Omnisphere. And I'm like, let's start drilling through basses until we get close. Second or third one we landed on was exactly what he wanted. And so from there, he starts sketching out lyrics. And it starts following a structured path beyond that. Mind you, we've worked together for years and years and years, and then previously on another band where we put out 2 albums. So we've got a good rapport. And I've noticed there's big differences between that environment and when you are just jamming with other musicians. There's always something to learn, but the way you measure those experiences, I guess, is from very different rule sets.
Thank you. Wow. So firstly, it's really funny how you said the eating bloody Doritos and stuff, because like I have a thing that they eat their fucking food and then they go, I want to play your keyboard. It's like, you're not fucking touching my keyboard with your dirty fucking fingers. Wash your fucking hands. Which is really interesting that it's my attitude is terrible. I have this terrible attitude towards humans. I don't like you. Look, I don't like you, and I don't like your type. Right? Honestly, I just don't. And you know, so, and also talking about releasing control is fascinating because oh, that's such a big one, is that like I like, maybe if you go into every single one with zero expectations of we're just gonna fuck around right now and we're just gonna let off some steam, then there's a possibility of something better happening. Whereas when you go in there saying, well, I found in my situation anyway, if you're gonna say, oh, we're gonna make some music now, um, I don't know, it's just really fascinating. I guess it comes down to you need to know the people and you need to, everybody's got to be on the same page. But you know, then again, I haven't really been in a room with another human being making music for a long time. And although, you know, I do my occasional meet up on Wednesday nights and fuck around with the modular, and that's not really it though. I would love that to be, but I don't know, maybe that is. I don't know. Maybe it is. It's fun. We eat pizza. Brett, what are your thoughts?
So the releasing of control, I think, works both ways. You know, it is. I can say, you know, that it is equally as intimidating to the person coming into my studio, and looking at my setup and being like, okay, how do I make anything work? But you know, where I saw, you know, you, and I forget his name at the moment, but he had the really cool instrument. You were jamming, and it was one of those Wednesday night things. Something like that, where somebody brings a piece of gear to your studio and they know it, is actually a huge icebreaker. You know, given the audio plugins, then both of you get to do what you do in your space.
I totally forgot about that. So that was Mike. That was Video Punk Mike.
Yeah,
that was a fun jam.
because
Mike and I had toured lots. Like Mike was in Angelspit, is in Angelspit. So I know what Mike wants. Mike knows what I want, and it was good. That was a good jam. Thanks, man. I forgot about that. God, I suck. It's something that I'm walking away with now is I think I need to start taking more control and actually inviting people over and saying, okay, we're gonna fuck around. Yeah. Rezi, what are your thoughts?
Little story. I 6 weeks ago said to my friend who's a drummer who I've known since I was in high school, let's do this thing. How about this thing? He was like, yeah, that's a thing. I'd like to do that thing. That sounds fun. And immediately I was like, oh shit, the commitment. What if it this and what if that? And some of the what ifs were like about that the necessity of communication kind of thing. Like I need to be clear about why I'm asking to do this thing. And I need to be clear, you know, what I intend to do with the results of this thing, if it's that kind of thing. And I guess to put the specifics on it is just like, hey, let's get some drum parts. And I don't know if that was received quite clearly, as my idea of, hey, let's get some drum parts could be very, very different from their idea of, let's you get even more specific. I might be saying I need some hits and a couple of maybe phrases and maybe a full bar. And he's thinking, I've got these grooves and I know like the cover tunes that we're gonna do, and we're gonna do this like interpretive tempo thing that we're, like subverts the meaning of the originals. And like that was what he took as a suggestion. I don't know that this happened, but that's where this fear of collaboration comes in. And then the second upshot of that is, and then I got distracted and decided I needed to rewrite my database that keeps track of the titles of the songs rather than send them to him, and talk about the pieces, because that's easier. That's making lists and being involved in frameworks and stuff. So that was the little story one, and then the other one is like confidence. Maybe there's an issue of that. I don't feel like I could improvise in a key effectively on guitar. I can bring a guitar and I can do a pentatonic blues scale in E or whatever key we're in. I mean, it's fine. You just move it up and down a fret. But to express myself effectively in the same way that I feel like I do when operating the studio over 3 months to create a song, big difference. Deedle deedle wee wee. It's like, so that's an event, but it's a different bandwidth and different scope of stuff. So yeah, I can see a huge value in being a really good improviser who rehearsed the scales in the keys and modes and knows how to show up to the session and bring that. That could be exciting, but I don't do it. It's not me. I never did that. I didn't learn. So it's a strange expectation mismatch, unless you get in a room with a couple of people with synthesizers that want to go blorp and not at a tempo, but make noises and create a ecstatic sculpture out of it, which that's another kind of knowing how to express yourself. That's I think I'm more comfortable with, but I don't even have a working synth at the moment. So interesting way of thinking about it, but confidence and expertise in how to collaborate and improvise and jam is a whole other universe there, with the vast differences, scopes, and ways of doing it.
Really interesting. I think another reason I fucking love ambient music is that you can turn up and you don't really need too much of a musical understanding. Here, tweak these knobs, and we're not even in a key. There's just a drone, and everything you do is going to be drowned in reverb. And that's awesome. There's just something about the reason I love jamming ambient music is the beat is going, every 8 bars you need to change. And it's like, I don't really need that pressure right now. Like, Carl just belched again. That's two belches today, and they were big belches too. They were like conversation, and then I pointed them out. Hey everyone, I just belched. I can't blame that on Frank. Thank you. You're welcome. Yeah, that's why I'm in a punk band. Talking about ambient music. But the great thing about ambient music, it's like, oh, we're just going to set this thing up and let it float like a cloud, like a belch. And we're going to let it waft sulfurically through the air. And then we're going to set up this other thing. And it's fine because you can, you can be making really wonderful things. And every time somebody else comes in, and the magic words is, I don't know what I'm doing. That's what's interesting about in ambient music. It's like, if you don't know what you're doing, then this is going to really add to it. If you're doing techno or jazz, or if you're jazz, you got to know what the fuck you're doing. And if you're doing techno, you've got to know your way around a synthesizer. You fucking do. But with ambient music, it's like, we're just going to keep it mellow and gentle, and we're just going to waft around. Yeah, let's just paint clouds. That didn't go anywhere. I apologize. Brett, talk sense to me.
Something you were saying there, about jamming like techno versus ambience. It, I have found the best luck if I choose like a synth with a lot of motion. A lot of these are your ARPs. Um, Sometimes they have like short sequences or something that do something interesting. I found those to be the most forgiving when jamming with people where nobody has a clue what is going to happen next. You're just listening to each other and trying to kind of find that fun space. And I think what it does is having that other kind of, it provides a sort of real rhythm element that is a little bit unique from the say four on the floor. But it also provides additional notes that you're not necessarily thinking to play. So when it's kind of like if you're using an ARP, for example, of course you're getting elements of the scale, but that can be informative to a creative jam. It can be a detriment in some regards to a very purposeful jam, where you need to have this note at this time versus, okay, we don't know, we're fucking around, we're going to find out what this sounds like and see what elements we like. Just a thought that paralleled off yours.
And the key word is yes, and listening. It really is about listening, isn't it? God, fucking music. Thanks, mate. Razi, what do you think?
Ableton has that thing where your tempo and transport are synchronized. If two people are there with their laptops and Ableton Live is running, Ableton Link, and Bitwig and Pro Tools and everything has ways of doing this without having to do like MIDI port cable. Are they in the same non-drop time code, MIDI machine control or time code? None of that has to be sussed out because it just shows a little thing built into the UI that, yeah, these two apps are in sync. And they just added in the beta. This is in the, if you're going to play techno, you've got to wait, whatever the dictum was, bring your synthesizer. This is a exciting feature. Not only are the transports linked, but the audio engines are, in that your partner's computer becomes a source in your tracks by default without having to have like Dante or audio over TCP/IP or anything. It's just the tracks show up. It's like that guy's Ableton Live in real time coming over your LAN. Probably want to do that with low latency on an Ethernet network, but it's just there ambiently because Wi-Fi, even though that's not the exact right fabric for it. The convenience might get you started. But I love that idea of, if that's your instrument, you show up with your laptop, you launch your app, and your synths are all there, and your environment's all there. And now getting to the songwriting collaboration part, she's working on her part, you're working on your part. They're appearing in each other's tracks, and you can just hit record and capture it at any time, mute them, don't listen. But that's a kind of immediacy. And I think since it's called Ableton Live, their angle is always real time. Nothing drops out. It just works continuously, tempo kind of thing. So I don't know what I'd do with it yet, but I love the idea. Like, the less things you have to like agree to download and turn on and drop menus for, and the more things that are just ambiently there, collaboratively wise, I think that fosters something. So I'm hoping that is as good as it seems like. Haven't gotten the beta yet, but looks promising.
That sounds really interesting. And obviously it's really interesting to see how remote that could be. Hey, I'm in LA and you're in London. Like,
yeah, I'm here to say that part, maybe physics is going to prevent it forever, but we're not there yet. Unfortunately, for the bidirectional thing, I do it every week, and sometimes I've got it down to 80 milliseconds on a good day.
wow.
But that's not, that's across the arena. Well, it's too long most of the time with video, that is, unless you don't want to see each other or put the video in a separate channel. We're up at 150, 260 on a bad day milliseconds, and that's off of Wi-Fi with hard Ethernet connections on everything, and I try to optimize. But that's not to say it won't be solved. It's just that the round trip latency aspect of digitizing it, sending it. Your buffer on your local computer is already a couple of milliseconds. So think about doing that over the network, which doesn't have scheduled packet arrival. I think it's getting better though, because for sure, like NBC has no problem with 4,000 audio channels coming from Milan this week. It's just that the way that they solve it, sorry to shift a little bit, but their monitor mix is done locally. They don't feed the audio back. So the people listening in Milan on their cans, their IFBs, their in-ear foldbacks, that is done in the rack locally, and you're just using a control surface on your end in Connecticut or Boston or wherever, LA. So no sync needs to happen. You can be 200, 500 milliseconds behind, and it makes no difference because they're isolated on their own loop and you're isolated on yours. So it's not there yet for doing this real-time jamming thing, but there are low buffer focused on fostering collaboration plugins that I've also used a little bit for the same purpose. But to call it ready to jam, you got to really truly be doing ambient at a low tempo. But if you are, then fuck it, forget everything I said. Just, float on.
Baby. Thank you very much. That was really interesting because I do think about sometimes like the logistics of Super Bowl and Olympics, and I just go, nah, I can't. This is making my brain hurt. And while
I'll drop a link in the chat for that. The Dallas Taylor's 20,000 Hertz has a piece on the Olympic production in Connecticut this week. So it's
amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, it's nuts.
It's also very interesting. While you were talking about that really interesting stuff, like that's hi-fi, high-end audio technology, the chat was talking about belching. They were talking about burps and belching.
Oh, I know my audience.
Well, I appreciated it. Yeah. Sorry, my brain just went to a very strange place, as it does. Because I mean, like, if you were doing that, like, ambient music is perfect for fucking doing because when you say 250 milliseconds, that's a quarter of a second, which is like, that's a beat. Or half a beat. That's an eighth note at 120. But if it's ambient, doesn't matter. And
okay.
the great thing about ambient is that you can make ambient music with several different sequences that are not locked. They can all be just doing their thing, bleepy bloopy at a time. And it's just excellent. So there you go. I just does anybody else want to jump in on this? Or could I throw this over to another really interesting thing that I just can't stop? I'm so sorry. That Dee mentioned just in a comment. Can we pivot? We're pivoting. I haven't had much time, energy, focus available, said Dee. I'm just commenting on jamming and stuff. But I think that this is something that we really always need to be aware of is time, energy, and focus, specifically energy and focus. If you want more time, just get up earlier. Thank you. I will just to finish what we were just talking about. There's a link to the bloody hell.
NBC Sports behind the scene. Dallas Taylor goes to the facility and shows you a lot of expensive consoles.
Beautiful.
And whisper booths.
The idea of focus and energy, especially now because everything is quite 5 shades of fucked, even in Australia, but I digress. Not talking about politics, but talking about the effect of the panic, the fear, and everything that's going on is eating away at your ability to be creative. And being creative is really important because it's a creative thought process that is allowing your brain to be open to new possibilities, answers, solutions, and ways to move forward. Not just music, but for me, it's just music. For a lot of people, it's just music, but it's also a way of thinking. And when you become locked down in fear and panic and everything else, focus and energy dissipates. That's not a good thing. So perhaps would anybody like to give some like advice here for overcoming this? And I am projecting a bit because it's where I am. So many conversations I have with people revolve around this. Brett, Rezi, your hand is up or is it still up? I'm going to throw it to Brett. Brett, talk to me.
Advice. So I've been kind of running an experiment on Facebook that kind of parallels this. Of course, we all know Facebook is an outrage engine. Its whole purpose in life is to kind of keep you pissed off, so that you come back and find out why you're pissed off. It's the whole thing that worked great for Howard Stern early on. When people were interviewed about, well, this went for either people who loved him or people who hated him. The thing they all basically said is, we want to see what he has to say next, and that's how Facebook works. You can trick the outrage engine, but I've also learned that the outrage engine has a healing mechanism, meaning it will heal itself to try to show you more and more outrage. I encourage, as a healing thing, experimentation with these. Tell it to do something insane and only show you kittens, or only show you manatee, or something like that. Pick something weird that you can pretend to have outrage of. And I think what you'll see is that the engines, if they think they can sell you something, they'll keep going with that. And if you're not buying in, they'll go back to the tried and true. And I think it's really important to kind of experiment with these things so that you understand what it's doing and how it's doing that to you. That's my thoughts on it.
Thank you. Okay, here comes your rant. Really fascinating shit here. So, I also, yeah, dillos and kittens. I've also been training my fucking feed. Firstly, I'll get to that. I've been training my feed to show me baby kangaroos, baby koalas, baby donkeys, because donkeys are awesome, and baby goats, because they're cute. Not because of Black Phillip. Black Phillip's cute too, but train them. Right, meticulously train them. So when you go and if I went search donkeys and Dane Edna Everage, if you don't know who Dane Edna Everage is, Dane Edna fucking Everage. But it was fascinating how, so, it was fascinating that 2 days later, it decided to put something else in my face, which was which was something very political. Because there's so many political things going on all over the world right now. They went, oh, Carl was interested in that. So no more baby donkeys, no more cute stuff. Boom. You don't get a choice in this. Here it is. It's in your face. And of course, there goes the outrage. And you can feel it in your chest and it comes up into your throat. Anger. Isn't it great? So firstly, like you said, Brett, you're absolutely right. It wants to piss you off. It wants to keep you enraged. And it wants to give you reasons why to be enraged and why everybody's basically your enemy. Fuck them. Secondly, as I did mention a while ago, Facebook magically randomly removed itself from my phone. It might be because I accidentally deleted it, but it's the best mistake that's ever happened to me, because I go on Facebook and I come off just so fucking sad and feeling like a worthless piece of shit. So it's gone. Thanks. Bye. Another thing that I am really still trying to sleep with the phone next door so I can't look at it. And the only thing next to my bed is my iPad that doesn't have social media on it. So I'm watching documentaries about synthesizers, specifically synthesizers I own, so I'm not getting gear acquisition syndrome, or ancient aliens or Egyptian fucking bullshit about pyramids, because that's awesome. I have been really challenged recently about somebody who said, if you can't have influence over it, don't care. And it's challenging to me because I care. I don't know if I'm empathic. I'm not. I don't even know what that means. I don't care. But I don't want people being hurt. I don't want children being hurt. But if I'm not going to do anything or I can't do anything about it, I'm not letting it into my circle of influence. I will put them into lyrics, but um, and it's interesting when I talk to people, and they go on their rant about how they feel helpless and hopeless and the government's fucked and everything's so fucked and oh my God, it's so fucked. And I will say, are you a member of Indivisible? No. Have you called a senator? No. Have you been on a protest? No. So even if you don't go on protest, because that's pretty hardcore, you still can call a senator. There's all these fucking things you can do, but you're not doing it. All you're doing is whipping up outrage. So if you choose to be concerned about something, and I think everybody should be concerned about a thing, not 200 things, do something about that thing. Call a senator, join a group, clean up the highway, do something. But you can't be a victim to outrage. And this is the other really interesting thing, is that there's so much pressure now I think there's pressure to be outraged. Yeah, I don't know. If you can't do something about it, then don't shorten your life over this. Don't feel increasingly that you are helpless and hopeless. Because if you feel helpless and hopeless and without energy, then your energy is being drained. And that's not good. That is bad. So do something about it or don't. And it's very easy to do something about it. So that's kind of it. And if I get this shit in my face, I turn into lyrics. And a lot of the lyrics are challenging me, not society. They're challenging me. Hashtag new Angelspit album. Fuck, it's angry. Yeah. And I think increasingly I'm just really angry at myself. I don't know. Fantastically confusing time. Ivan, tell me about the magical implications of this. I'm serious. Rant, go.
I think I've got some unique experience on getting drained. You know, all health concerns, being health concerny. There was nothing quite as horrible as, what happened over the last 2 years, where, all of that crap in the real world was going on, which, by the way, sucked. And then on top of it, like, I was less me every day, to the point where, like, I stopped writing music because I couldn't put A and B together anymore. Like, everything stopped working and it was horrible and it sucked. And, thank freaking God, I started getting the B12 shots. And, as it turns out, a whole lot of, like, busted neurology can get fixed so long as you find the thing that's going to fix it and do the thing that will fix it. Move forward, find a way. Like, 'cause there's always going to be one. As much as we'd like to think that when you're fucked, you're just fucked. That is not true. Like that's just an easy place to wallow, and not wallowing is part of the equation, I think. So find the thing that works, stick with the thing that works, and like, and keep in mind, we're all just humans stuck on this planet putting up with all the bullshit. But like, if you want to think that you don't have a purpose in life, basically anybody can find themselves, easily turning, make the world a better place into a purpose, and like actually do it. Don't, like find a shortcut, because shortcuts suck anyways. And as things start to improve, you can just keep building on that improvement. If things get better, you can make it even more better now. And it works. It's not by any stretch of the imagination easy, but it does work. All right.
Yeah, Carl's hand is up, and I missed the part where he said he was going because I just saw his hand up. But I just wanted to try to reorient, and I scrolled back and I couldn't find the beginning of this conversation in the chat. But if I have anything to offer, and I'm sorry, Ivan, if this is a non sequitur from what you were saying, but it's okay to leave places you don't want to be. It's sometimes you feel compelled to make a statement about it, and man, I am hesitant to even talk about it because nobody wants to hear you say, "Oh, I'm not at the thing. This is a place I don't go," because it's an indictment about the people that are still there, and you sound like an asshole. But if you happen to be, oh, I'll just own it. I mean, as susceptible as I am to algorithmic feeds and being marketed to, and the sort of shift from a place that used to be a clubhouse and became a billboard, or whatever a parallel metaphor would be, a place that used to be easy to curate on your own and became a gate kept noise blast of some sort. When that shift happens, you can go and you don't have to say anything. The people that you care about are going to be still in your IMs and in your text SMSs and in your telephones and in your FaceTimes and WhatsApps. Like, they're still there, and you can still reach out to them, and you can still send a picture of a cute kitten to them because you have a cute kitten. So fucking send a picture of your kitten to them and use your kitten's name. And like, I don't feel strongly about it, but but that's bullshit. I do feel very strongly about it, but it's hard to, I mean, no, it's preachy to even start saying this stuff. And I don't have the angle on it to, make it sound like a supportive statement, but I'm trying, because if you are uncomfortable and made sad and made feel less powerful by an algorithmic feed, you can leave it. And man, I've never heard somebody say that in a cool, supportive way. It's always just like, well, fuck it, I don't have a Facebook. Like, great. But I don't personally. I mean, I have an account, I never deleted it. So it's tough. Like, we're wrapped up in it, and the world still is entangled by it. But the relationships where maybe it's a group chat, maybe it's a one-on-one, but you're doing the thing on your own terms and making your own memes out of your own stuff. It's okay to reflect culture still, but the focus on eliminating your exposure to the corporate overlords, the big feeds, the algorithmic slop, the stuff it's like at least personally satisfying, if not actually makes me feel better to exercise that choice. And yeah, there's places you quote unquote have to be for your certain career choices, but I say that with the scare sarcasm quotes because I'm not sure that's true. We're told that, and it's easy to believe, and it can be a shortcut to some things like satisfaction, distraction, marketing, being part of the problem, understanding what's going on in culture. Like, those are effective things that algorithmic social feeds do, but Let me just go back to you can leave without saying so, and I'm just going to pretend I never even mentioned it.
I really appreciate what you just said. Thanks, man. Thanks a lot. It's very interesting that we are all talking about the same thing, but approaching it from different angles. And that diversity in solving this solution is really important. And I thank you for what you just said. Alex, what are your thoughts?
For me personally, there are tools where you can limit on certain websites what you see. Like, for example, I have for YouTube a thing that blocks anything but the video I'm looking at, and also my subscription feed. And this helps me a lot not to get sidetracked because that can easily happen because it's like specifically tailored to my interests. Also, if you struggle to find inspiration as someone who just went to an art exhibit, that can be something that's really kindles your flame to to speak metaphorically. Yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Thank you for your 2 cents. Quick question before you run away. Where are you right now?
I'm in the beautiful city of Goslar, waiting for my next train, next to many medieval.
Can you flip your camera around? Let's have a look at this shit. Dude. Oh, that's so pretty.
Probably more pretty in the day, but yeah. I could either take a bus or wait here for an hour, and been told the city is very beautiful. So yeah, this is the old city where I'm currently at.
That's great. That's really beautiful. Thanks, man. Thank you so much. So here we go. I want to talk about magic. And specifically, so I've been doing some research into what vampire religions and occults actually are. And it's very interesting that I'm not talking about the blood drinking part of vampiric cults. I'm talking more about the psychic vampire energy draining things. Now, before you go, I don't believe this shit, I don't fucking care. Please just wait. Because there are people who do believe this shit and they do fucking care and they're drinking your goddamn energy, whether you like it or not. So it's really interesting that, I was saying before about how I love watching stuff about ancient Egyptian shit. There's a lot of this stuff in ancient Egyptian shit, in Roman stuff, in Greek stuff, in fucking Mesopotamian stuff, it's really it's very fascinating, the history of greater beings drinking life and energy from the simple proletarians, which is us. And we can see that all around us these days, that, absolute power corrupts absolutely, etc. This could also be called a psyops thing, because if you go, oh, I don't believe in fucking vampiric psychic energy, but you probably believe in psyops, fine, same thing. It's this thing that is, it is addicting you, it is enraging you. And by the way, there's the 12-step recovery program from Media Addicts Anonymous. Check that out. Because what a lot of us are dealing with is not just an addiction to the internet and social media, but it's also, it's because the rage and everything makes us feel justified in this day and age, because you're supposed to have an opinion on this stuff. However, everything makes you feel like you have no power. So, here's my thoughts. Research, and this could end up in songs and music. Research the concept of religions and cults that are energy draining, spiritually religion. That's what we're talking about. Then research the concept of psyops and the control, how governments control and manipulate people on mass levels. Same fucking thing. And then research what television or the substitutes of television does and always does, which is in the 90s, there was television, drug of a nation, bleeding, ignorance, and radiation. Nothing has really changed. This is the same thing going over and on again. And if you don't like me using words like magic and spellcasting and stuff like that, just replace them with other words, because it's somebody else's intent on taking the power out of you to use it for their advantage. That's what it is. So, you got to fuck them, but you got to figure out how to fuck them, because the thing is, you're invested in this. Sometimes you do have to just walk away, but you got to figure out where that is. And remember, it is a really good idea to look at these 12-step recovery programs. And it is a good idea to entertain the idea that perhaps you do have an addiction to media. Perhaps. Entertain that idea, because if you do have an addiction, logic and thought process within yourself starts breaking down. And it's very difficult for people to crawl out of the hole of addiction by themselves. In fact, I actually haven't met anyone who's done that. You need help. And maybe we all kind of need some help right now. So that didn't solve anything. And yeah. So does anybody else want to jump in right now? And Brett, talk to me.
So I've been exploring kind of parallel things, Carl. So my experiments have, or my research, whatever, hasn't really been so much towards, you know, the vampirism or psyop side. Although, let's be real, that is just, you know, kind of a function of human nature as well. Meaning, there's always going to be an ebb and flow in terms of power centers and things like that. You definitely have personality types that's really their jam. They want power. And then you've got others that who really just kind of want to fuck off and be left alone, and they end up being the food. The thing that I found more interesting than not is the number of similarities between all the religions, all the governments, music, art, and literal expression as it comes from human beings. Of course, you know, we're in a kind of closed loop, you know, humans, that is. Humans are kind of looking at ourselves in a mirror and saying, hey, this is cool, or this sucks. And so we are definitely a victim as well of our own bias as humans. You know, we're not going to see the world the same way as the bee or the bird or whatever. The point I'm getting to, I guess, and the thing that I'm learning more and more is that because all these things are so similar, they're literally like the names of gods, that it doesn't matter what you call them. They don't care. They perform a function. You perform a function. You know, humans are observers, if you will. We're also creative sorts, you know, whether, even if you don't consider yourself a creative sort. If you have kids, then you have you know, created something. If you have supported something being bred for a pet, you're in the same camp as everybody else, every other human. And I think what I found the most interesting in going through these pathways is when you can isolate people with differing beliefs one-on-one, you get out I mean, there's an initial sense of, okay, here are the things I know, and I'm using these as badges of defense or offense, depending on your personality type. But very quickly, you run out of those things. And if you're still stuck in a room together, you end up finding that you're more alike than not in most cases. And so I think there is a certain amount of respect to that we as artists should be kind of maybe encoding into our message. It doesn't mean that it has to be a happy tune. Doesn't mean that it has to be an angry tune. But the continued sharing of the human struggle, human condition, and the further seeking of more understanding is pretty much the win. That is why you're here.
Yes. Thank you so much. While you were talking, I was thinking about how I always think of how, the Roman Emperor Caligula. And it's this cycle, although we're not as bad as Caligula, but it's this cycle that just keeps going on. And I think that's one of the reasons that I and all of us treat the creative thing with such importance, to make your art and to be really like, look at Brett's room right now. I'm just gonna throw this open here. Gallery. Okay. So if you look at all these rooms, and you can't see my room, but you know what it looks like. There's people who are surrounded by gear because the gear is helping us somehow create music and to figure out life and to externalize whatever bizarre, weird energy is going on here into a different form of energy, which is sound. And through that becomes a process of thought and a process of figuring it out and a process of bringing joy, power, or experience to others. That's magic. And that is being projected via waves. That's magic. Yes, there's physics in that, but I'm going to call that magic. Because it's a damn magical thing. And for all of us, it's so important to just keep making your art. It doesn't matter if people are listening to it or not. It doesn't matter. The important thing is that you are taking this negativity and converting it into something beautiful or weird or whatever. You are converting it into art, and you are aligning your brain to think in a creative problem-solving manner. Art is solving problems, and they're solving weird problems. Like, all of this shit should work. The bass line, the melody, the chords, the beat, it should work, but it doesn't. Why? Excuse me again, I'm belching. Or all of this stuff doesn't work, but it fucking works. The song works. All these things together make no fucking sense, but they work. That's the worst kind. How do I replicate it? This is, you don't get this level of problem solving when you're doing your tax or most other things. This is fucking great. So please just keep making your art. You are inspiring me. We're all inspiring each other. And I was thinking about how how entertainers get paid massive quantities of money because they're distracting the populace from what the fuck is actually going on. Meanwhile, the artists who are the truth sayers and who are prophesizing and saying, be aware of, be careful of, usually are the ones in poverty, because we don't want to be hearing what those people are saying. Hey guys, something's really fucking wrong here. We need to address this. I've been thinking about how that's been a constant thing throughout history, is that as soon as an artist becomes um overly political, overly critical, and sure, there are exceptions to the rule, but predominantly they just disappear. Either they literally disappear or they're dropped. Because the job of an entertainer it's about cake and circus. It's about that Roman idea. I'm so into Rome, man. If you want to learn about manipulating the fucking populace, research Rome. It never ends. That's why there are so many operas written about Rome, because they're going, this is so fucked up. And here we go again. It's gladiators. Taylor Swift's just a gladiator. Yeah. So I don't know what that fucking means. And I'm sure it's wrong, and I'm sure people are gonna go, oh yeah, but what about? I don't fucking care. And that's another thing, is that the great thing about turning 24, because on Monday it's my birthday, I turned 24 for the 30th time. And after a while, you just go, I don't give a fuck. Like, to realize that to engage somebody in a conversation or a debate or whatever is to give them my energy, and either something creative or beautiful is going to happen, or there's going to be some shit fight, and that energy is going to turn into something negative. I just couldn't be fucked anymore. And maybe it's why I don't really talk to many people, and I always try to drag them onto the same conversation of, what do you love about life? What do you find creative? What do you find joyous? Pulls out their phone, shows me their band. Oh, dude, that's awesome. I just don't want to, I don't know, I'm just learning that even through my voice and through every fucking thing I do, yeah, I fall short of this glory so much that if I can try to turn that into a positive interaction, then I can be more like Gandalf. Because I want to be Gandalf the Grey, not Gandalf the White. I want to be Gandalf. So there you go. That's all I got. Does anybody else want to? Thanks, Adam. And a big shout out to everybody else who's been turning 24 for many, many years. Brett, who's also been turning 24 for many, many years. Talk to me, Brett.
Man, I'm only 20. Sorry. I would, a funny thing about what you were saying, in regards to artists that speak their mind and get dumped. There's the other side of the coin. The number of artists or producers, mixers, music heads, things like that are CIA or some other government agent, which is to say that even in Rome, part of the thing about freedoms and liberties and things like that is the inherent knowledge that there are interested people in what you're saying and why you're saying it. And there's a very, very real need from their perspective, or yours, depending on your microcosm or your macrocosm, to shape that narrative. And it's that has a huge influence on who stays and who goes, who becomes popular, who doesn't. And that's one of the nice things, or whatever, when I think back on it, I think for me, one of the fun things about metal, industrial, punk is here are these times in which, someone made it famous because they just raised a giant middle finger and said, you know what, fuck you. I'm going to do it my way, or I won't do what you tell me. Anyway.
Yeah, and while we're doing this, I've actually pinned Alex's feed as he walks around this bloody amazing city, and I'm looking at those gorgeous arches. And yeah, so yeah, well, does anybody else want to bring up another conversation, or we could keep going on about this one? It's really important. Or not. Okay. Okay. Gee, fuck. What do I talk about now? Alex, flip your hey, Rezi, talk to me.
I appreciate what everybody had to add on that one. And I think I was hesitating to jump in because the only things I have to offer are pretty far away from it. But yeah, no, I love listening to you guys talk. It was a good moment there. Can I introduce a different topic, a technical question?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Carl, when you started the thread, I thought you were going to say you said political, and I thought we were going to talk something maybe a little more current. I didn't realize we were going to get metaphysical and creative. So immediately I snapped to the Super Bowl performance. And this is just a pretty simple question. I caught it. I watched a part where he's got that headset mic right here. There's no way that's what we're hearing. It's a larger capsule, but it's right in his breath plume. Like it's obviously the Super Bowl is we're going to be running a safety backing track for just in case. Even if they are, as I assume, the lore is you're supposed to sing live, band is recorded, I think. Trying to get this all straight. Point being, I assumed it was just lip sync because he's dancing. I mean, you don't sing and dance at the same time. But he had a part, and this is where I caught the performance. I watched about a minute and a half of this. Sounded good, really fun, cool shit. Music stopped, dropped out, vocal stopped, and he had an ad lib or a vocal speech part, like just non-sung, didn't match to a tempo. So I'm not sure what's going on. I assume this was broadcast live or with appropriate delay, and I assume the performance was pre-recorded because of the mic and sound quality. But how'd they get the lip sync for the speech parts?
I got theories on this.
Is he being really, really cute and well rehearsed off the cans?
No.
Go.
No, I reckon. Okay, so because I've seen shows like this, I've done several K-pop shows where they'll do that and they'll come out of it and they'll start talking. And then while they're setting the shows up, they've got this massive wireless system, huge wireless system backstage. And it's like, okay, so, and everything's got a redundancy built into it, but you watch these people on stage and it's like you said, it's a fucking headset and it's right there. And I even know, I'm pretty sure I know the model of that and it ain't nothing fucking amazing. And it's right in the breath. I'm not hearing any breath, anything at all. And he's hitting belting notes and then he's pulling right back and it's right there in the mix. So either there's crazy fucking compression going on. What did I see recently? Where
it's fair to say that was not the sound that we're used to hearing from that placement of a mic. That's not the
so thing. My theory is they will do a take, which is him singing into a 58. Literally a 58, not a condenser, but a 58. So it sounds live. Then they fix it up, and it's in a backing track. They play that track because it's the Super Bowl. There's 10 trillion fucking cell phones. There's 3 bajillion reasons why that's going to drop out. You cannot fucking afford to do that. So there's a backing track. And then they just switch it. They just basically go live on the back on the face mic and then they mute it again.
I'm going to have to scrutinize that cutover because that's the only logical explanation, except I didn't hear the tone switch. I mean, you know, like that mic at that position, even for the ad libs, or they weren't ad libs, but the scripted speech parts that aren't sung and don't have a tempo, were convincingly locked. Not in the way that, like, when you see somebody anticipating a cue and it is on the tape and you see them and the sound starts and then they catch up. Like you've seen that happen in broadcast or pre-recorded, but this was a very natural delivery of a few lines and then back into the music. And I didn't hear that telltale timbre shift of the obviously placed tone of that mic. I think something else is going on. Either it was fixed in post, or they have enough delay, or he does have a really good cue and it's very well rehearsed and he's talented, or I don't know something about how they manage the plosives on that mic, and it's further than we thought it was or than I thought it was because of something, and there's a really good blast filter in there. There's something other than our go-to and what the lore says. I don't know. Maybe
well, because when you look at his thing, it had a big plosive guard on it. Or option B is he actually recorded it on that, and then that's the recording they used on the same mic for consistency. But it's really fascinating that when you look at Biden's when Lady Gaga sang for Biden, and she had the fantastic in-ear monitors that were diamond encrusted. My recollection is when I heard that, it was like she was live. You could tell she was live. She was still bloody excellent, but it was really obvious that that's what a live sound sounds like. Like that's the live sound that I'm used to, because you could even hear the fucking wind and
small
breath
capsule
sounds and
mics up right here have a sound, and you can get them to sound good and acceptable and even great indoors if the speakers are all far away from them, Broadway kind of stuff, or if the mic is up here or wherever. But it is a sound, and it's not the studio sound, and it's not the live on a 58 sound. They're very different sounds. Anyway, I appreciate your thoughts on that, but I think I'm going to listen to it again and try to hear. But it's kind of too late because we know it's already been post-edited and fixed and then posted and sent to YouTube. So I don't know if I could actually hear that. That's the other thought, is that whatever we're hearing is already the social media version of it, and the one that was actually done live, if there was one, for the broadcast, sounded different than what we're hearing. That's another possibility. And the only thing I've heard is the rehearsal taped, blend edited social media version. That's possible too. Magic. That's where my mind went for
it's
magic.
funny because that's where my mind was going. Isn't it interesting how even, is there such a thing as a raw, real, honest performance in which people show their fucking, oh, I missed a note there, oh, I dropped this, or I'll tell you right now, if he was singing, he didn't drop a note. Is this fundamental, how it is important for you as a performer to keep the vulnerability of performance alive, because it is a human experience. And that's, so much going on. The more I fucking dig into this shit.
The performance touched me, especially the political background of the performance. And I found it engaging, if not slightly moving. And I love the phrase, I didn't understand a word of it, kind of thing. Like, it's music, man. Two other things came to mind just now that we're talking about this, is the wireless feed to his cans is the hardest part, because that's the small moving. You can maybe have two of them if you're crazy, but I mean, I don't know, one in one ear and on two different channels in case you lose one. But that's the hardest part. And for him to not have good monitoring, perfect monitoring, there's no way. It's not adding up to being even possible to do that. Walking around, moving around, you can get good coverage in licensed radio spectrum and probably trust that your channel allocation is going to stick, but that's trust. That's not like be certain that. So more to think about. Technical. It's interesting.
Very interesting. Brett, your hand was up.
Yeah, I did have a thought for a minute, and something happened to it. I'm going to say, it bashed its head against a wall, or got very distracted by this Hydrosynth, video editor thing that just hit chat. Thank you, Ivan. But I don't remember what it was though.
Okay, fair enough. Was there anything else anybody else wanted to talk about? Today's a weird day. I like weird days. Weird day's good. Ivan, do
My
you want to talk about? I'm sorry.
my
Go.
computer that's recovering has reached 1,369 files, and it's evaluated 217,000 of them, and they are all my musics and things. Restoring, hopefully. That's my excitement for the
I
day.
hope it works out.
Yeah, million.
Always a good reason to have a standby NAS or something like that where all that data is going live.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if we haven't said it in a few months, but the recovery was a 4 hour click one button and they're all back. But the reason I'm still working on it is because I, of course, don't do my applications folder to my daily backup. Well, not of course. I don't, because I have terabytes of stuff and apps are restorable. So the process I'm doing right now is just to get all the applications back, including my homebrew and my custom whatever. Blah 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 blah.
If it's at all helpful, in my data folder, I do keep a folder of important installers, which I typically keep the last versions or the latest versions of whatever that thing is I'm using. So that way, when something happens, I'm all restoring one, pathway.
I agree with that, but also my cutoff is if it's something I can just download, I usually don't put it on backups. And if it's something I can trust to kind of always be there, at least for the next few years, I don't stick it on the backups. And it's a loose rule. Some of the stuff is on there, but it's a good practice. If you are more sensitive to downtime, like just a little bit more than me, maybe you are, then yeah, obviously keep your core apps installers around. Just throw them in your backups. It's a couple extra gigabytes, whatever. But I'm assuming that the problem is the computer wouldn't boot, not that the drive died. It's like it's a purely system software situation that I just don't feel like untangling. So given that I have access to all the files, I just have to copy them from another computer to another computer because the one that has them, that was the boot disk, obviously doesn't start up. So
Gotcha.
that's my day.
Good fun. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. And it's great the way you guys have such a really high importance of backups and all that shit. Hey, I want to swing right now because I spoke last week. We were talking about the golden age of 96 to 2003, and I went, damn it, I'm gonna set up the fucking Atari. I mean gee, that'd be amazing. The K2000, and yeah, I did some sampling, and as I mentioned before we went live, I finally dragged down Ivan's samples and utilized them, and oh damn, she's a good synth.
Yeah.
Damn that
How'd all that stuff
K2000.
go for you?
Really well. Ivan's stuff is like it was distorted, and that's great. We can utilize it. That's true 90s when the the waveform itself has distorted. But it's nice distortion.
Nice.
But it's distorted going into the Zoom recording device. It sounds great, totally usable. And I did a thing on it where the lighter the sound is on the velocity, the more high pass filter is sucking stuff out of the sound. So when you hit it hard, it's full spectrum, but when you hit it light, it's there's more lows are being sucked out of it. Which is great because it adds a nice dynamic ability to it. I also used the friction mallet on something to make a freaky sound, and that didn't work. I was going to record the spaghetti colander. It's metal, and I thought,
Yep.
oh yeah, I'll do that. Didn't work. So I did something else, and it did work. And it was randomly, oh fuck, what's this thing doing? Shh, beautiful.
Yeah.
So I came up with this little random thing. That was because it's on metal. It wasn't tuned. Then I did the 90s thing, and I spun it backwards. And I went, fuck yeah. And then I found some other bits and pieces, and oh, it was good fun. And I randomly, what else did I get? I while I was going through the Kurzweil library, I noticed there was a sound that I don't even know if I fucking used it before. I went, oh fuck, I'll use that one. And then I found some other sounds as well that I've had just lying around for years.
Yep.
And it's always really nice how when you do it like this, it comes out as this random paste. Like all these sounds are so random. And I used a drum loop. Fuck y'alls. I used a drum loop. And it's really there's just such a joy in using a drum loop. And it was one of Adam's drum loops. Thank you, Adam. One of Atom Bomb's drum loops. And to just use it on a sampler and to be changing the tempo so it's faster or slow. It's just be changing the pitch so it's faster or slower, adding distortion, adding a little bit of wave shaping to it. So it's got that Kurzweil sound going on. And also doing the same, the harder you hit it, the more lows are in the sound on the loops and basically on everything, because a constant issue I have with the K2000 is that the low end builds up fast because the Kurzweil has got a lot of, it accurately plays back the low end, and that shit builds up.
Yep.
So yeah, it was really fun, and pulled in the Moog, the Voyager, and just two synths going at it. And I may have mentioned the objective of this album is to have as minimal stuff going on as possible, but have maximum impact of that stuff. So almost as if someone or two keyboard players and a drum machine could play this. Or yeah. So yeah, and I was listening back to, like, I'm listening to my 90s sinful playlist and just really loving these sounds and little tiny bits of, like, for example, there was one moment where I took a piece of noise out of one of Ivan's samples, like it was like literally like that. And I applied really dramatic noise filtering to everything, really dramatic. So it's you can hear the artifacts in it. You know, when you apply a lot of noise filtering, it takes.
Yep.
And I've got the new Soundforge. So the old Soundforge I was using, which is 13 years old, the artifacts were wow, dude, there's fucking artifacts in there because it was old shitty stuff. The new one, not so much, but it's just lovely to hear that all these little tiny accidents when they're in the mix, they add this really pretty unexpected landscape, sonic landscape to everything that's going on. And there was one moment where I just did this thing with the friction mallet on a bowl on this instrument, and it worked really nicely. And it was this really pretty random thing. And I put it all together, and it was most definitely not pretty. It was fucking aggravating as fuck. And it was 146 BPM, and I haven't worked at that tempo in a while. And it's like, oh,
Yeah.
especially when there's a drum loop, 146, man. That's great.
Demon
that was
Hate
my
is
week.
almost always at 140.
Yeah. It's really interesting that a lot of my stuff's, I don't know why it's slowed down. It's 126 to 136. But it's always good to, because I remember I never went under 135. Never went under 135. But
Well, there's a trick you can do with the higher tempos in a DAW that becomes very natural, and that is, where it's like, okay, I need something to be at like near 60 beats per minute, for example, because I want to get within the realm of a clock. Well, I find it's easier to accomplish that at 120 beats a minute, because yes, the clock is moving faster, but that means also that the notes you can compress into that space is shorter, versus and this is simple DAW manipulation. Versus if you do that at 60 beats per minute, you actually have to manipulate either the wave or the MIDI or something to mathematically fit in that same amount of space. Yeah.
no, that's brilliant. Because
Yep.
this is another really fun thing that if you've got something that is ticking over at 60 BPMs, for example, a clock, you can also put it at 180 or 150. So the clock starts hitting triplets.
Right.
And that's when you start using drum loops like that, like um you have a drum loop laid over your keyboard, and so that the C is playing the tempo as it's supposed to be. But if you go to the F sharp, it's now playing kind of half.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going ding ding ka ka ding ta gung gung ka gung ga ka dung dung ka gung gung, that you can get some fascinating things. Also play it an octave lower, so it's like, or an octave higher. But when you start moving out of it, specifically in the harmonic series, because they're kind of and the great thing about a Kurzweil is you can actually say, I'm going to use the fucking Pythagorean scale, which is actually fractions.
Yep.
Therefore, timing will work within a 2:3, the actual timing that it's required to be. As opposed to if you play something a fifth, it's not actually a half, it's kind of roughly,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know, man. So much fun. Really, really so much fun.
That's one of the joys for me is ripping samples apart in, like a computer-based DAW. And to be fair, I didn't have an Emacs starting out. The most powerful synth I had was the Roland MS, or the most powerful sampler I had was the Roland MS1, which it was 8 pads of glory. For all of about a second per pad, which made it a very customizable drum machine, especially when at the time setting it next to like the SR16. But if I wanted to do real sampling, for me, that was always taking it into the DAW and editing it somehow. And you were talking about drum loops there for a minute. And one of the other things that I really like doing with drum loops is I will grab a section out of the middle. So you have with any drum, you have the attack and then the decay, pretty much. Well, inside that decay is where you have all your harmonics. And so if you rip out a portion of that and treat it like it were the attack, you can literally take one hit and build an entire drum set. And things I will do is I will reverse elements of the center of that. So you hear the normal attack, but the decay is actually a reversed. It gives it a kind of boomerang effect.
I must admit, I haven't played with soft samplers. Alex, be safe. Thanks for joining us, man. Alex is boarding his train. I haven't played with soft samplers, maybe I should. But I do love taking samples and cutting them up like a drum loop, and not just on the beat, but also like cutting them on the two and or on the triplet 16ths or something fucking, so you've got all this stuff that you're throwing in there to when you start doing that stuff, and you start triggering them off at different points and blah blah blah, you go, fuck, this is how Aphex Twin did it. And you very quickly, and that is actually something I was very inspired by with working with Mike on that jam.
Yeah, that was cool.
Is that's what he was doing.
Okay.
He had them all cut up weirdly. He was just throwing them in there, and it's like, dude, I fucking love this shit. Frank says hi. Razi, what are you thinking?
What Brett, you were talking about, I did a thing similar to that. Where they're like verging on granular there, where parts of it are looping and parts of it are reversed. But I had a solo piano little outro on a thing, and I did delay granular with ramping reversed up to the note and then tailing out of it with the echo. So it had a kind of similar thing to like parts of it were in different orders. It wasn't reversed. The piano part was still playing, but the delay that it was using as an effect in tempo had that kind of in and out.
I find you
Hey,
can have a lot of fun, especially like in a break doing that, where you've already established the main beat and everyone knows what the sounds are. Then you take it into a break where things go suddenly 90 degrees to the left, and you're reassembling those sounds of sorts to get back to the main track. And that's where I use a lot of that stuff. It's too much fun.
Yeah, this is like the joys of throwing an idea back at a computer or an old sampler. And yeah, dude, get back into it. Totally. That might be a nice place to say farewell, unless anybody else has something else they want to bring up.
I was only going to say something if I reach 2 million files, and I'm not there yet. So
Okay. Um, well then we shall have that conversation soon. But until then, you have been watching The Art of Rock. Thank you so much for being a part of this. Please join us every Saturday morning. We are here talking about music. Made possible with Angelspit's Patreon. $3 a month or more, or free. Take your pick. Angelspit's, Ice Planet 9000's new album is kickstarting now. I'm very proud of this. Go listen to it. It will be available on streaming. Patreon members get a free digital copy, or you can help me out and back it. There's the Kickstarter. Remember on Wednesday nights, we're going to hang out with Vulture Culture and bloody get us some music going on because it's fucking awesome. Rezi, thank you for joining us.
you're welcome, and thanks so much for having us here. It's been a good one. Appreciate it.
It has been good. And these are a thank you to the humans who joined us today as well. And Alex was in bloody walking around a village, and it was fucking so beautiful. Remember that if you are concerned about the way things are going within the American democracy, there's indivisible.org. Hopefully there's an Australian equivalent as well, because oh boy. And that's very important. Right now we are going to bang on over to MTV TV, and we're going to listen to some amazing new music from MTV TV. So Diana, please hit that raid. And if you're watching on another fucking thing, that's where we're headed. And if you want to, if you got music, send it to them and they will play it. Oh, we got this. We got this. How's that? Did it raid? Raided.
We are rated.
Raided. We're gonna hang back here and chat. See you next week.